A very good afternoon to all the viewers. Welcome back for another episode of BW People HR Voices. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, Ms. Deepa Param Singhal, who is the Vice President HCM of Oracle Asia Pacific. Deepa has an excellent track record of growing multi-million dollar businesses. She's been with Oracle for almost a year now, and prior to this, she has worked with Akamai Technologies, LinkedIn, and LG Soft. She has successfully led businesses in all ends of the marketplace and developed markets in the United States, the APAC region, and India. She also runs a charity called Pumpkin Seeds to contribute towards girl-child education. Firstly, welcome, Deepa. Thank you for giving us your time today.
Thank you so much, Savi. Pleasure to meet you.
So for all the viewers, today's conversation is going to revolve around elevating, engaging, and excelling in employee experience, thereby resulting in a unified employee efficiency and productivity. So Deepa, let's start with understanding that how should a leader ensure that the employee experience initiatives are aligned with the overall aims and objectives of the company?
Thank you, Savi, for the question. I think, first of all, it's important to note that we're actually going through some very transitionary times right now in the market. And the single largest competitive advantage that I believe that we have as organizations is really our people, our employees. So, it would definitely be true to say that people are an organization's biggest asset, right? They're actually also an extension of the organization itself and the organization's brand experience. So, while all this is true, we're still seeing that 88% of Gen Z professionals in India are actually considering a job switch in 2023. And they're not really considering an internal move. So it's important time for organizations and HR heads to reflect on this trend. And even if you look at the Gartner Future of Work study, we saw that 82% of employees actually say that it's really important for organization to see them as a person and not really as an employee. And still only 45% of these employees believe that their organization sees them as, people, right? So clearly, I think, employee experience is the core of everything that we do. And it's also a very important business lever. It's a very important, powerful lever. And, if you think about, scaling businesses, expanding to new markets, achieving some of the organizational objectives, I really think this will play a very, very critical role now and in future. And, therefore, I think going back to your question, the experience strategy has to be aligned with what the organizational priorities are. And to me, this really has three tenets, right? First, I think the question that we need to ask ourselves is the enablers for employees in organization. Are they working towards the organizational priorities? And when I say enablers, I mean systems, I mean processes, and above all, organization policies. These really play a very, very critical role. And when these things are misaligned, it actually spoils the employee experience and also limits the ability to achieve, objectives. So first critical aspect is the enablers. The second aspect is really the role of work applications, Savi, right? Are they enabling learning, insights? Are the work applications that we use today, are they helping tracking and delivery of, employee workflow in a very seamless and efficient manner? And what we have seen is that, a unified application stack is very, very beneficial. For example, today, there are so many broken processes in organizations, and there are also so many interdependencies and interplays. Whether you take it between HR processes, whether it's onboarding, hire to retire processes, or even HR and finance processes, for example, they have so many interplays. As an employee is onboarded, they may order a laptop, it may hit a different system. So really having a unified experience we have found is very, very beneficial. Lastly, what we've seen is, how well technology can keep everyone on track and how can it do it intuitively. I think that's a very key tenet, Recently, there have been so many breakthroughs in AI and ML that enable you to do that. And, how can you leverage technology so that you can do it intuitively, and you can also cater to some of the speed and pace of business, which is immediacy, right? So I think if we do all of this, I really believe that, we can actually, through employee experience, we can drive productivity, we can actually improve workforce resilience, which is very, very important, and brings about some mobility, internal mobility within organization. So I would actually start employee experience. I would actually start with understanding the organization's mission, vision, or whether it's the strategic goals of the organization. I think that's a good place to start for HR leaders, so that everything that we do, all our efforts for employee experience, it's aligned with these goals. And the second thing I would do then is to listen to our employees, right? As leaders, I think we can leverage so many technology tools today to understand the employee sentiments. What are the employee sentiments on the ground? How can we gauge what their needs are, what their preferences are, and what their pain points are, right? I think that is very, very important. And then, we can actually leverage all the data that we've collected and pick the most pressing concerns and, have strategies towards that. And the last thing that I would call out is measurement. I think measurement is also very important. Today, organizations can actually integrate employee experience and performance management. You can reward and recognize your teams and managers who are really contributing to a successful employee experience, right? And, and who are really working towards aligning to organization goals. So I really believe, you start with the organization, what the goals are, listen to your employees, and then build measurement, tactics into your employee experience strategy.
So I definitely agree with you, Deepa. To identify the gaps within the system, listening leadership is very important in today's date. So Deepa, as a technology leader, why do you think employee experience is important for digital transformation, right? And what are some of the metrics, or let's say indicators, that will help you measure the impact of employee experience on engagement, productivity, and also retaining the employees?
Thank you, Savi. That's a very good question. And I can say that, when we think about digital transformation, you saw that, the first wave of that digital transformation, I think pandemic actually accelerated it. But now what we're going through is a very different need of digital transformation. Organizations today are experiencing what I call the second pivot. We're actually in a place of very distinct and highly intricate economic and geopolitical landscape. So organizations in this time, they're very focused on profitability. And all the digital transformation that you see now, it's really focused on how do you make your organization successful in this environment. So on one hand, Savi, there are very unique business challenges that we are grappling with. And on the other hand, technology is growing rapidly. There are hundreds of technology trends that are coming. There's also the advent of AI, that is accelerating tech adoption as well. And when you look at AI, I think from a HR perspective, it's really centered around employee experience. Currently, if you see, the hybrid working system, the roles of HR today, it's very blurred. It's actually expanded, to be honest. On one hand, they have to accommodate the changing workplace dynamics. They have to build a future of work, right? On the other hand, they have to equip the workforce and the workplace with all the necessary capabilities that are needed for remote working. So in all of this, employee experience becomes very critical. So we have to remind ourselves that, productivity and retention are very, very key outcomes of this. So whatever we are driving, it really drives the business forward. So it's a very important activity. But the challenge we have is that, sometimes, employee experience is perception-based. So how do you remove it from becoming perception-based to having a very proactive strategy? So if you're thinking about having a proactive strategy for employee experience, you have to understand that employee experience is actually multifaceted. It cannot be measured as a single unit today, right? So various aspects today, whether it is the working environment, whether it's upskilling opportunities that you're giving to your employees, whether it's interpersonal communication, or how collaboration is within your organization, all of this plays a part, in employee experience. So you have to really factor all of that. So if the right technology, right? If you deploy that, that definitely has an impact on employee experience, because employees can feel more aware, more enabled, more empowered, and also appreciated. So I think technology is at the core of it. And also what we're seeing is, advanced AI is actually now becoming a friend at work. It's replacing your real friend at work, right? Very interesting statistic is that more than 80% of employees in India, they say that they prefer an AI bot over a real human for getting work-related advice. So AI is becoming very, very pervasive, Savi. More and more employees are getting used to AI, and AI driven digital transformation, that will drive employee experience. And we're also, the third thing that we're seeing is the success in the digital age. It really depends on agility and resilience. So, and, therefore, in building this resilience, right, the learning and development opportunities, that becomes very, very critical. So let me give you an example. Let's take the example of a financial services industry. When we talk to our customers, I think some of the challenges that we're hearing from them is that in India, 40 to 50% of the workforce are agency employees. And when we speak to them, 70% of these employees say that they expect some sort of transparency. So how do you enable that, right? And 60% of the extended workforce, it could be gig workforce, contractual labor, they are actually leaving assignments early. Retention is very, very difficult here. It could be various factors, including poor behavior of people or management or employee experience. And 65% of this workforce is seeking a more collaborative, more seamless working environment. And what we've seen is that companies who've helped employees upskill, they've had 7% more retention rate. So, if a majority of your workforce, if you have a very diverse workforce, full-time, part-time, contingent, gig, that's how the economy is shaping up today. So for us, creating a single flexible platform which works across this is really important. So we've been working with some of the top banks, and we recently worked with a top bank to solve this problem. The solution that we had to build had to be mobile responsive, very secure, and very integrated and scalable. So we were able to do that and, enable a very seamless flow of data, seamless employee experience, seamless onboarding, seamless offboarding. So I think those are some of the benefits, you also asked me about measurement. So I can say that, there is no single metric. We already saw that, employee experience is actually multifaceted. So may not be a single metric that really captures employee experience overall. But what we've seen works for organization is that when you put together a rounded set of insights, you can really build you can leverage your analytic solutions to do that. It could be traditional employee metrics such as, retention rates or employee engagement, other metrics such as, gender ratio, internal mobility. You can build in some of those KPIs, but, very, very important to have a very robust analytic solution. That's what we, our customers, they really leverage our analytic solution, which we call Fusion Analytics Warehouse, because it comes with pre-built KPIs. It really allows for building dashboards and, using a very, very robust analytical tool like this is a very important aspect of measuring employee experience.
Right. So, Deepa, very interesting statistics that you've mentioned here for the viewers. Also, now that we're speaking along the lines of advanced technology and AI, we're seeing that organizations today, they are transitioning away from the traditional methods of evaluating an employee, because, earlier it was based on their annual or periodic targets that they've been meeting, to the HR tech feedback and also the performance management systems. So with technology taking a center stage today, how do you see the HR tech space shaping up for future?
You're right, Savi. With new age technologies, the annual and the periodic performance management cycle will definitely become redundant. Feedback will now become more frequent. And in most cases, it will become real time. And with AI, qualitative feedback can now be very objectively analyzed, and actionable insights can be drawn for it, right? Otherwise, we used to have traditionally a lot of qualitative feedback that's hard for employees to understand. Another important aspect here will be that we give proactive advice so that corrective steps can be taken. So you can't afford to have non-performance during these days. And in order to do that, you have to give constant but proactive feedback. So the whole idea is that performance management will change from a post facto work assessment to becoming a proactive enabler for work. I think that is very, very, very powerful. Another significant change that we're seeing in performance management is also the ownership shift. We're seeing that the ownership is moving to employees, right? No longer are progressive modern day organizations relying on their managers, their first line managers or leaders, to set goals for their subordinates, right? Just if you do that and have an annual review basis, it's really not helping the organization be agile and move forward. So what it's shaped up is now employees drive their own goals, and that should be aligned with organizational KPIs. And also, employees are expected to set aspirational and progressive goals with the help of, and really, embrace a growth mindset. I personally like this approach a lot because, I think this really encourages continuous learning in organizations. And not only that, I think it creates a very encouraging environment. Now the good news is that we have technology to enable and transform this process. And, you're not alone, right? Traditionally, it's been a very waterfall kind of a process, and now it's very dynamic. So we've been working in this area of performance management a lot. If you look at, we've really built in AI into our entire HCM Grow platform. So we, today through AI, the tools have the ability to summarize, author, as well as recommend content. And if you use larger language models, using that in Oracle Grow, today, we're able to automate skills mapping. We're able to do career pathing, succession planning, and really think about all this as data-driven recommendations or next steps that we can give employees and your workforce, right? So we really believe that AI and technology will enable employees to own their careers. And also all aspects of performance management. So really big shifts are happening in the field of performance management, in becoming proactive, in putting employees in the front and center of it, Sabi.
So along with the skill mapping and having a growth vision, I think today's performance management system, they're able to evaluate the emotional intelligence, the emotional quotient as well of the employees. And that is one very important factor that I've seen. So Deepa, we'll move on to the next question. What are some of the core concerns of an HR leader with respect to the hybrid employees? Also, do you see a shift in the priorities of hybrid employees in 2023 and beyond? And how do you see the employee experience emerging in the new normal?
Yeah, I think we've been talking about hybrid and hybrid employees. And we've also been studying hybrid employees because, the needs have been changing through the pandemic and post-pandemic as well. So at Oracle, we actually conducted an AI at Workplace study, and we actually gathered inputs from over 15,000 people across 13 countries. And it really gave us some eye-opening insights, and on what does some of the impact, that pandemic has had and post-pandemic has had. So clearly what we found is that employees are still struggling, even though pandemic is a thing of the past. There has been a collective awakening, and employees are turning to technology to help them. And 42% of the people now feel that they need a better work-life balance, right? And 32% of the people in this survey said they were prioritizing mental health above everything else. So 9 out of 10 employees in India, think that hybrid working can make businesses more sustainable. So employees really believe that hybrid work improves productivity. And also, for them, it gives them work-life balance, and, it makes their jobs more meaningful, right? So very, very interesting times that we're going through. So it's very evident that employee priorities have had a very clear shift. Traditionally, they were focused on position, on payroll, and that has dynamically changed. They had plenty of time to reflect. And, right now, during the pandemic, you used to think about being isolated as a challenge. But now when you look at the benefits of flexibility, being with family, having resources close by, not having long commutes, so the hybrid is here to stay. Not every employee's definition in the, what we're seeing is, while employees' definition of success has changed in the workplace, so has organizations, right? Like if you look at organization priority, there are so many core concerns that organizations have in managing this workforce, right? How do we give them development opportunities, career opportunities? How do we keep flexibility but drive organizational outcomes, right? So one, there are a couple of very important things. For me, the first important thing in this managing hybrid employee environment is really communication.
Right.
So I think a key factor that enables hybrid workforce in a very seamless way is actually communication, and very important for having a positive employee experience as well. So how an organization communicates, it actually influences how the workforce interacts with it as well. And it really sets the tone for a company's culture. So as we think about communication, I think we need to think that India is a mobile first market. So mobile accessibility in any tool that we're deploying becomes very important. So employees today want to access information anywhere, from any place, right? So that becomes very critical. So just as an organization would think of serving their customers, with that, with the space being very immediate, I think we need to serve our employees. We need to give them information as soon as they want it. They should be able to access it anywhere, So I think communication is a very important aspect of hybrid workplace. The second aspect is skills. The shelf life of skills is getting significantly reduced. We saw tech trends are emerging. Even technology is becoming redundant. So the most in-demand jobs of the next 5 to 7 years has probably not even been invented yet. So in this, day and age, when your skills are becoming so rapidly, redundant, I think for a hybrid workforce, it's very important to constantly skill them. The third thing is personalization. I think, it's proven that a much more evolved personalization is required to retain and engage employees. You need to know your employees. Just because they're remote, it's not like, you don't know them, So the role that tech is playing in personalization and in compliance, that is rapidly evolving. So the way we think about it is that the rapid pace of development of HR products is very important. At Oracle, we are actually building hundreds of new features every 90 days. And 80% of our development is based on the customer voice, employee needs, what they're asking. And I think that's very important for all organizations because, so many new features, whether it's real-time feedback mechanism, personalized content delivery, intuitive self-service portals, our philosophy is really to make employees active participants and own their careers. And that can only happen when organizations and products that are being built are listening to employees and organizations, I think.
You very rightly talked about, technology is becoming obsolete. So a technology that was introduced a week back, today it has become old. So it's very interesting. And Oracle is doing some great things in this space. So, Deepa, how do you think the cloud is transforming the HR space? And also, how can organizations use HR analytics to enhance the employee experiences at organizations?
So whether it's your back office operations or front office operations, the adoption of digital technologies has accelerated, and across industries, whether it's manufacturing, financial services, whether it's IT services, anywhere is in the forefront of it. All, even the traditional sectors, there's a very strong push towards having a digital infrastructure. And at the core of it all is the digital transformation of HR. So today, HR's role is not only as an enabler, they're expected to become a profit center, and they are expected to become a profit center by making their employees productive and successful. There is direct correlation in everything that they're doing to growing the business, right? So what organizations are doing is they're looking at new ways of building operational capabilities and taking it to the next level. And, a part of that is embracing new technologies, being agile and being future ready, so that, all the internal processes can be streamlined. Among all the technologies, cloud computing, is definitely something that is propelling a change. We see a huge push towards adopting cloud and SaaS in organizations, and they're moving away from on-prem infrastructures, right? There are many organizations who are replacing and ripping apart their traditional HR frameworks, manual record keeping. They're moving away from all of this. And the reason behind this is that cloud technology is actually revolutionizing HR. It's actually giving a lot of flexibility. It's giving a lot of insights. And, we spoke about anytime, any device. So that's becoming very critical, and cloud can do that. And also it lets everybody do their job, right? If you think about it, employees can be productive. They can contribute to the business outcomes, even, 48 hours after they are onboarded. Erstwhile, if it was taking 1 week, 1 month for employees to be productive, now it's extremely expedited. And at the same time, HR can do their job. They can focus on some of the strategic initiatives like improving the overall culture and so on and so forth. And, we've seen also that, in the past, companies, when they were prior to the cloud days, companies used to use 5 different applications to automate all their processes. If it was recruitment, it was a different process. Attendance was a different, leave, payroll, learning development. So cloud-based technology really allows a single integrated application. And that's driving efficiency and experience today. So organizations who come to us, they really want to have agility, they want to have interoperability, and they really want that they see the benefits of an integrated, unified platform. And another factor of choosing HR solutions, cloud-based, is also the analytics-based insights. I can give you an example. We're working with a large IT services company. They work with over in 10 countries. They serve more than 3,600 customers, and they are actually experiencing high growth, and they're expected to double their, business. We actually deployed our HCM solution, and while it became a single source of truth for employee data globally, and this may seem simple, the results that they were able to see was really a step change in the business, because it really provided consolidated real-time reports, dashboard for managers, for HR, for leadership. And the goal here was to have evidence-based HR decisions, and they were easily able to do that. They were able to track, analyze, and benchmark various metrics that led to a productivity increase. So many such examples, where organizations are able to, deploy global best practices once they have a framework like this.
So, Deepa, any last piece of advice for the employers, the HR professionals, and the employees watching this video?
Well, I think if I would summarize the discussion, I think, we are definitely at a transformation point. So let's be conscious of the needs of our hybrid workforce. Let's listen to them much more, right? Let's embrace the use of technology. I would say AI and generative AI is going to bring rapid developments, right? There are a lot of vendors that are providing AI, but again, what is critical for organizations? You spoke about, how can it transform the interview process? How can you remove subjectivity? How can you use generative AI and the camera on your laptop screen or your mobile screen to ensure that this employee that you're hiring is a culture fit, for example, would blend in with your team? Hundreds of facial recognition tools, voice recognition tools are there today to do that in generative AI. So I think embrace technology, I would say, understand the needs of the hybrid workforce. I think those elements would be very, very critical, Savi.
Thank you so much, Deepa. I think the viewers are going to take a lot of inspiration from what Oracle is doing in the HR tech space. Thank you once again for joining us and giving us your time today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you.